Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here, and I actually stopped trading at noon, which is this area right here as we were forming this swing right there. And then I decided to wait before I made this video because there wasn't much price action, and then the FOMC news came out, and then the market just went nuts from there. And so we'll go over that as well. So anyway, this is the overnight low level. This is the overnight high up here. Now with this overnight low, some may be wondering how come it's not down there, because it did burst out of here at 8 o'clock, but it chopped around and it didn't actually form the swing until 8:30. And so I decided to just adjust it around, which if you watch this channel or if you watch some other price action channels that talk about it, the overnight high and low, they aren't, these levels that you mark, they're not necessarily supposed to be the absolute high and low of the overnight. They're meant to be where is the most support or resistance near the overnight high or overnight low. And so that's what I'm trying to, show here. And so I adjusted it around a little bit. It did end up fitting best where I had it at first, or, I might have moved it within a tick or so. But it ends up holding there, and so I adjusted it around as we kind of went through it here, but ultimately I left it there. Now we rush above the EMA and back into the overnight low. We rush above right after these two legs down. So notice how after we had these two legs down, I immediately started finding support. That's because these measured moves are very important. But the market moves in twos. That's how second entries are formed. And so when you get two legs down pushing out of the overnight low, this is where you can expect a reversal. And so you want to look for a reversal pattern, which is a failed second entry. You want to see a second entry pushing higher, and then you want to enter on the failure. And so a second entry short, failure, to go long is what you're looking for. Now, when you rush above, and I'm going to remove this for a sec so I can show you something about this. I can see that to the tick, you have first entry short, second entry short, failure. To me, this is not a failed second entry. I understand that to the tick, it's a failed second entry, but I care about structure breaks and bigger picture price action levels. So all I really see is uptrend. Even when it has this big red bar, it ticks lower and pushes higher. To me, this whole thing is just one leg. And then when we finally break the structure here and actually push out, this is the real break. So now we have uptrend, break, but instead of getting two, clear legs down, retesting the overnight high, we kind of just got one leg down, which I see, once again, a little tick higher. To me, this is one leg down. That's not a clear enough separation between these two legs down, because on a big picture, you can tell this is just one leg down. So, the big picture structures, they are, it can be hard to understand at first, but I do know people who have gotten to understand it. So, anyway, you just got to train your eyes with it. So unfortunately, we don't get that clear failed second entry. We just have this push up. We start getting choppy, and then we rush back below. We start closing below the overnight low again, and then we can't barely close back above here, unable to get above the EMA. Really not a good looking trade. Once again, just a first entry long, and then here we push higher and we start getting choppy again here. But as you can see, after we start moving higher, we can copy this leg over, and we have a measured move in play. So once again, after these two legs are down, it formed the overnight low, and we're fading the overnight low. This is the perfect area to look for a reversal pattern. Now, we didn't get it at first, but now we have a measured move in play, which adds probability. And then as we chop over to here, we can see first entry short, second entry short, failure. This is just a big picture failed second entry. Now, by the way, I do not like this trade right here because it is way too choppy, and it is right into these highs right here. This is not, in my opinion, this is not a high probability trade, and this is certainly not a trade that I would take. Now, if there was room, like say that this range was like all the way up here, pretend that went up there, I would be fine betting on it leaving this chop right here, because it is very good context and it is pretty big picture. But when you combine how choppy it is with trying to push out of these highs, that's a little bit too much. It's a little bit too risky, and that's not something I'm going to do when I want to be consistent over time. So, if you try to enter with a limit order far enough back to where you can get out before this, that's fine with me. but I know that there's no way you could have gotten filled on something like that in this situation, unfortunately. But anyway, so notice these measured moves. Like I was saying, measured moves, very important. As soon as it was met here, it clearly started forming a lot of resistance right here. Measured move up, basically met. As soon as it met, it started reversing. So you got to get used to these measured moves here. Now, I just want to point out that even when it's extremely choppy, I'm going to show you that the price action will still hold true even in chop. So even when it was going completely sideways right here, it still formed a reversal pattern, failed second entry that had a pretty good spike up. I'm not sure if that won or not. I haven't checked that. So yeah, it looks like you would have won for a 1-to-1 entry there. But, regardless of that or not, the point is, even when it's choppy, you can still see it acted like a failed second entry. And as soon as we start reversing back down, what do? We form another failed second entry back down. So we have first entry long, second entry long, failure right there. Even though it's choppy and you can't take it and it's not high probability, you can still see that price is still making the same typical movements and patterns. You just got to get used to spot them and know when to enter on them. And so anyway, we push back down here. It stays very choppy within this failed second entry. There's no good entry, unfortunately. We get this lower high right here. It's still within this chop, and I would just avoid all of this. We push lower here. We close below the overnight low again, and then we just continue sideways, rejecting that EMA. And then we get this close above. We make that little double bottom, closing above, of course, with no room to these highs here. So, you're not going to want to enter that. But we push up, push back down. This entire range, there's unfortunately no entries in. It really is just a whole mess in this area. And so after we had that push down right here, after we really spiked down, that's when I started noticing this wider channel. And these lows fit well off of it. We have 1, 2, 3 bounces off these lows. And of course, we didn't really confirm off these highs later, but before we even got up to this uptrend, I was hoping to get something off of it. I was waiting for it, just basically because of these lows. I did draw it off the highs, but the lows fit very well. And, we get this correction here. It doesn't reach even the EMA. And then by the time we get these couple legs up here, it's off of the trend here, this uptrend, this downtrend line, but it is still blocked by STT. I would have preferred it if something, we just bounce and then get some kind of lower high, or maybe a couple attempts higher for this uptrend right here. Unfortunately, we just didn't get a clear setup. It's clearly blocked by STT. It's even blocked by shorter term STT right there. So no reason to really enter on that at all. But then here we break this channel right here. So it's kind of just indicating that it's not holding. And then we do close back below. It's still within this trend right here. I would just avoid entering on this stuff. I understand it's tempting to enter because it's off the trend line, but it's blocked by this short-term trend line right here. So, and sometimes people like to ignore them. I've never met anyone consistent who does that, but that's why I avoid doing that, because it's right into this STT. So STT is very important. If you ever hear me say STT, that means short-term trend line. It's blocking this entry right here. And so then anyway, we push lower here. It goes a little bit lower. We have the second leg up right here. So now we have these couple legs up. And unfortunately, there's no longs because we did just break this downtrend right here. And so I would be worried about attempting to make a new low for it. And so I don't want to enter on this higher low. It could very easily just tick higher. It's starting to form that, kind of congestion right there anyway. And so unfortunately, I would not take that. I would want to wait for that break and then a couple attempts down first, and then I would look to go long. Not just after breaking a downtrend. So anyway, we push on up here, and unfortunately, no real way to get in on this. Even after we hold on to this overnight high, it's too far away from the EMA. You gotta enter on the EMA, or take a trade, expecting it to return to the EMA. You don't want to expect it to just, that's just too far away. It could easily try to pull back. So anyway, after we push up to here, it basically just does like a breakout pullback. We broke out of the overnight low. We pulled back. It did fade in, a little bit, but it basically just did a rejection of it. And now we have this downtrend break and prices pushing to a new low. Now, when we started pushing lower here, you can clearly see that the downtrend has a break and we're expecting a new low. This would be a great place for a failed second entry. A nice big picture, failed second entry to form. Push back out, a couple legs up, retesting that overnight high, that overnight low. That would have been great, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. We push all the way down to here, make this double bottom, which of course a double bottom is a bottoming pattern. It could, it's very common to make a double bottom like that, then reverse higher. So when you get a first entry short right after a double bottom and it really spiked up like that, it's not high probability enough. You would have to wait for a couple legs. What I was hoping for after we ticked lower here, I was worried. I was hoping it wouldn't drop all the way down. But, this is basically right when I was done trading. So I was, really hoping that we could have gotten another leg up. But, this is where I was done. So anyway, I can't enter on that first entry right after that double bottom. We don't get a second leg, and we just push down, reach those lows again. We attempt higher. It gets very choppy, and then this is when the market went crazy, which I notice we have this downtrend break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, failure. So, even though on a bigger picture this is the second attempt lower, could easily reverse after a double bottom like that. But as you can see, even when it gets really crazy and choppy, and all wild because of the FOMC news, the price action still holds true. Downtrend, break, a couple legs at a new low, and then what did we do? We immediately faded back into this range. The downtrend played out, so we reversed. So a lot of people avoid trading on the news, and that does make sense. There are reasons to do that. It can be very confusing, but if you know how to trade, I like to trade on the news. Sometimes you gotta do a lower position size because it's harder to get filled, on so many contracts, but you can get used to it. So anyway, we push up, we return to the overnight highs. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't trade any of this, so I was unable to see this in real time. I can't really give you any thoughts from it, being in real time. But, we push up. We have this uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. Now, it is good to see a, break in two attempts at a new high and then trying to enter on the failure at the overnight highs. But the problem with this particular setup is it's clearly holding on to this overnight high. It's clearly finding support right there. So you're basically shorting directly into support. Ideally, what would have happened is we break right here, push even lower, and then get these same two attempts higher completely inside of the, back inside of this range. And then you would not be entering short into support right there. And then you could have absolutely gotten a good trade. But unfortunately, it's clearly just going sideways. It's stacked. It's making this, double bottom with this chop from over here, and it's just completely sideways. Unfortunately, that's not very high probability. And so, anyway, we push on lower here, and then notice how, like I say, price action levels get bigger as more time goes on. We have uptrend, break, first attempt higher. What would have been nice is something like this. Uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, retesting the overnight high. That would have been, a great looking entry. But we don't reach up there. We do get this though, uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. Now this second attempt higher, I do think that this actually looks good to take a short on. Now I do want to address this right here because it's, kind of getting choppy right there. It's basically kind of like a breakout pullback off this level right here. Now this, I wouldn't mind entering short on something like that. I do want to check for STT. I wouldn't mind entering short on something like that because of the major attempts higher. Like at first, it was a couple of pretty minor attempts at a new high. being extremely choppy. That's very obvious, but these are a little bit bigger legs, a little bit bigger picture. I know that this leg right here isn't as big as this first leg, but you can still tell that you have uptrend, break, first leg higher, second leg higher. They're clearly connected to each other, which of course I would like to draw that just to show the break. So like I say, I like to wait for structure breaks, not just ticks higher. So I see this as uptrend, and then this whole, all these little legs inside of it, you can still draw them within one trend. So this is the break to me. Uptrend, break, first attempt higher. After we break that structure there, we push lower, and then that's our second attempt higher. Now, considering, we did just, we retested that, pushing lower. It's basically a big picture failed second entry, like you can see here. You have those two attempts higher. On the flip side of the count, you can see first entry long, and then break, second entry long, and then from this second entry, you do break out of that, so you get that extra leg. So I hope this is clear. When the bigger picture stuff can, I understand it can be very confusing, but it does get easier, and in my opinion, it is a lot better than scalping. I'm not saying scalping's bad. I could never even scalp successfully, really. I had some success, but I was never really consistent and profitable scalping. But I do know that it happens, and there are profitable scalpers. And I'm not trying to knock anyone's trading when I say stuff. When I talk about how I don't like scalping, I'm not trying to knock scalpers. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't do it either, but I'm just saying, I struggled with that a long time, and switching over to bigger picture price action, it really does help, and possibly that could be better for you as well. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Or wait, no, it's not. For some reason it felt like I was doing an outro, so I started saying, all right, that's it. But anyway, so we push on lower here, and we break back out. It's just kind of, it's not surprising. It just dropped through like a knife because of the FOMC news. The market goes nuts. But after we push out, we still attempt to fade back in. Notice how we push higher here, and then we get this, like I say, the price action always holds. You get this uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. It is very choppy, and it almost acted as a symmetry. A lot of times when you spike up in one direction, you'll spike back in the other direction. And that appears to have happened here. Of course, the spike back in the other direction is directly attributed to the spike in the other direction. If it happens fast enough, you'll notice symmetry moves like that. But and you can use them to trade based off of, which would actually be good with this right here. But anyway, so we push lower here. Like I said, we attempt to fade back in. It is pretty choppy right there, but we do push on lower there. It ends up working as a pretty good, uptrend break, couple attempts higher, failure. We push lower, we attempt back up. That's just a first entry short, so you don't want to enter short on it. But it does go down a little bit. We have a second leg higher here, and now once again, we have this new low. After you start pushing higher here, you can look to, make this measured move. And now you break right here. And so now you can see uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. And so this trade right here, after it closes above the EMA, I like this just to retest this overnight high or overnight low right here, because let me draw that really quick. You might need a little bit limit order, especially with this sideways right there. But my point is, you have a measured move in play. You're at an area where you can expect a reversal. It's a perfect looking failed second entry. First entry short, second entry short, failure. I only like it once it's closing above the EMA though. You do got to be safe. But this looks very high probability. I'm not saying to push it like that. I'm not saying to expect it to push through that, but if you could have gotten in with a limit order on that, that would have been a great looking trade. It appears you would have not been able to get filled that far back. I usually don't mind pushing it a tick through some kind of resistance, but this is a great looking failed second entry, and of course you have great context for it. So Anyway, we push up, and then at this point we retest the overnight high, and so I don't like this long, even though it's shooting back into the overnight high, or sorry, overnight low. It did just have a push off of it with one leg down. You would want to see two legs down after retesting a major level such as an overnight low, but so that's why I don't like that there. But there's a couple of good ones. Like I mentioned, I like this trade right here. And I like this right here. If this had STT, by the way, I wouldn't like it. I don't like trades with STT. There's very few exceptions to, having STT, although I'm not really going to get into that today because there are exceptions for different rules, but I'm not going to get into all that right now because I'm just going over today's price action. But anyway, so then we do push on up here, though. It gets a little bit congestive, and now we're retesting here. What I would like to see is... which I'm not going to stick around and wait, but we were forming this uptrend. It is breaking here. It didn't confirm off the highs or the lows, but what I'm thinking is we could just get some kind of wider trend right here, with these highs fitting. So I guess we'll see, which I'm not going to see till tomorrow because I'm not going to wait around to see. I'm done trading for the day. It's already almost 3 o'clock, which that means it's going to close soon anyway, but... Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope this helped out in some way. I hope going through this news price action, this is FOMC news, hope that helped because, sometimes it can be hard to understand the news price action because, this is all happening so fast. Whenever there's a news event, it can happen so fast. Your orders won't get filled or you'll get slipped heavily. Very heavy slippage during the news, so you got to be careful on your position size. But the price action, it does hold the same, when you're trading the news, but it goes by really fast. There's not as much time to analyze, and yeah. But anyway, thanks for watching. I really hope this video helped out. I'll see y'all next time.